That's what the marketing engine tells you, right? Oh, you should send your next email Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Oh, guess what? Everyone's doing the same. So you're not different anymore. You're in the face of your customer just like everyone else. And so that's why it's important to shift back to
Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Amplifiz podcast. Good day to you, Nicholas Vargas. So you have been with BD, Becton Dickinson, for nearly 4 years, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm leading the Omnichannel and Marketing Communication here for BD, but we cover the entire region, Greater Asia. BD, in case you don't know about BD, BD is a medical device leader. We're going to talk today for half an hour, right? During that time, BD will produce around 2 million devices.
Wow.
That's massive, right?
Massive.
So from syringes, from blood collection tubes, from robots, from surgery equipment. And happy to have this discussion with you on Omnichannel today.
I wanted to invite you to the show because after meeting with you, but also talking to a certain number of your peers in other MedTech companies, I really get to realize that while all of you guys are aiming for this perfect omnichannel engine and so on, some of you are closer to having a model that is very operational already, and some others are at the earlier stage of trying to get buy-in from organization and stakeholder alignment and all the fun stuff that we know. So at BD, you have been able, you and your team collectively, maybe regionally or globally, I'm not sure, you've been able to build a very well orchestrated omnichannel engine already. If you were to describe what are the fundamentals for this engine to work?
It's interesting because the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the omnichannel execution is the MarTech. So it's the whole tech stack, all the software, all the technology that you have behind your strategy. But it's not what we decided to start with when we wanted to build that engine. In a classic consultant way, we decided to go with people, process, and system. Not rocket science, right? Nothing new there. But doing it well takes a lot of time. And I think the whole journey took us around 2-3 years. So we started with people first. So understanding what is even marketing for them. What is a lead? What is a campaign? What is a content piece? And you will be surprised that in a big MNC, we have excellent training when it comes to marketing, to sales training, but you can have quite a difference in definitions. And so that's the first thing, aligning definition. What is a lead? When does a lead
the same
come?
language, basically.
Exactly. So that was the first one. It was pretty straightforward, but in BD, BD is we have 10 different business units right now. And we cover around 15 countries in the region between SEA, China, Korea, Japan, and South Asia as well, with India and the country around, and Australia. So we needed to interview everyone, making sure that everyone agrees, everyone is heard about what is a lead, what is a campaign. So you go again in one meeting after another, you explain the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's the basis of change management,
Right.
Making sure that everyone is heard, making sure that everyone agrees. Then you can speak the same language. So after we had that base definition aligned, we went into the process. Again, nothing about technology, right? What's your day like as a marketer? What's your day like as a sales? What do you do in your CRM, whether it's Viva or SFDC, doesn't matter much, right? It's about what do you do in it. Is it a pain right now to use it, or are you enjoying every minute in your CRM? Usually they don't enjoy every minute.
I was about to say, I guess I have an idea of what you might have heard, but anyway, let's continue.
But so sadly it's not the latter. And then we just map the process, and after that we added the technology layer, knowing that we are a big MNC. Most of the technology solution for us in Asia are not taken by us. They are taken by our HQ in the US. So we are not going to change CRM tomorrow, right? Even if we wanted to, it's not possible. Sure. There's a lot of continuity. There's a lot of system interconnected, right? So we are lucky at BT to have excellent tech stack, right? We have really good partnership with Salesforce. We have a really good partnership with Adobe. So if you just use those two products when it comes to CRM and marketing execution, you can pretty much do 90% of the job. But it's about how do you use it efficiently, right? Yeah. So process, and then the process are being translated into the technology. So we did that fun exercise. You have to find it fun as well if you really want to drive that change management. That fun exercise of asking someone to share their screen and walk you through how do they update a lead status. How many clicks? How many clicks does it take in Japan, in China, in Australia? How do they do it? So you need to sit down and not in the same room with technology. You can do it remotely. And then see, is everyone doing it the same way? Can we cut 60, 80% of the process? And that's what we did. We made it a lot simpler. So process in the middle, definition before, technology after, and the rest will follow. Now at BD, we cover the whole region, right? But our websites are capturing a lot of inbound traffic naturally, organically. And we are generating a lot of leads through events, through email, through websites in the tens of thousands. Now that we have a marketing engine that is not running by itself, far from it, but in constant improvement and evolution. But that can only happen after you do your magic triangle of a people, process, and system.
That's very good. There's a lot to unpack. Yeah, it's very interesting. So if I hear it correctly, the tech stack side of things is managed centrally, which is not a surprise for you as an MNC. But you talked about the number of clicks that a sales guy need to click on for, convert a lead or to update the lead status in Japan or anywhere else. So it leads me to believe that you do have some room to operate when it comes to the usage of the CRM or some customization of it locally or regionally. Is that right? Did I understood that correctly? Or?
Yeah. So we have a product model like many MNC have now, but we did a work on what should be the ideal canvas when it comes to Salesforce, right, or the CRM. How many buttons do we want to put definitions there? So we basically we tried to pilot it in a sandbox environment, made the perfect version for us. Then we send it to our IT team, and it went into a ticket in an agile solution and whatnot. Right. Took a few months. But then we got it produced and rolled out to everyone. But we had the sandbox approach first. And then the IT team do everything they need to do, make sure that nothing gets broken down, no security risk, all of that happens. I leave that to the professional of IT.
Yeah, but that's already another good tip for those who are listening to us of finding that balance between global governance and local empowerment. Because at the end of the day, you need to ensure that, we understand from an HQ perspective that you want to have one CRM for a multi-billion dollar company, naturally. No, you don't want to have 6 different CRMs floating around. But at the same time, you want to make sure it's adopted and understood and used and benefited from locally as well. At the end of the day, you run the business in this market. So that alone is already a great nugget of insights.
But you'll be surprised as soon as you show a picture, a draft, or what you would want the view to be, even if you show that to the HQ, to IT, people can relate because image speak 1,000 words or maybe more now. But it's if you just send your requirements in a few bullet points, right, and say, oh, I want this, I want that, the impact will be limited. But if you actually show that picture of like, hey, I want this because I've done 10, 20 interviews with people on the ground, This is how many clicks they do. I want to optimize it like this. It's pretty rare that someone will say, no, sorry, we cannot change that button, that click, that flow, because you have done your homework first and you have a lot of proof to show that it should be working.
Great point. And you talked about the tech stack that allows you to do 90% of your marketing. When it comes to the people, you started with the people, of course, without them being empowered, heard, and so on. There's not much happening. But tell us a bit more about the model that you believe is the most successful in an organization of your size. Is it a decentralized model with expertise in markets? Is it a regional hub supporting different countries? Is it done globally? I mean, what do you think?
It's
my question is really about running the campaigns and being operational. I'm not talking about training people, but really running the show.
Yeah, I think it's my answer might not be valid for every organization, right? Because every organization is different. Even when I compare in pharma, let's say you have a new molecule coming up, the global team usually makes very strong brand plan, right? And it's being cascaded down. You have little room for changing the narratives, right? I think when it comes to outside of big molecules or maybe even out-patented drug, you're able to do a lot more. So that's where maybe a hybrid model, right? Having a strong global team that knows really well what the product is about, that has done a lot of market research, that knows what's the benefit of it. That you need that, right? You need that pool of expertise. Hopefully, all of us have it in a global organization. But then at the regional team, I think for us, we've made the choice to integrate a bit more internally. So we have content production, content approval. We have even artistic direction and content refinement is being done in the region. Because if you think about it, right, a surgeon in Singapore, a surgeon in Japan, a surgeon in Australia, they might use a similar product, but what they care about might be quite different. And I trust that having a bit of a hybrid model with a central team in your regional team and then connecting with local marketeers can go a very long way to craft, again, as we were talking before, the right message to the right stakeholder.
So that's interesting because we talked quite a bit of the internal side of things and how we orchestrate that complex machinery with people, processes, and systems. But let's talk about what are we trying to achieve here? What's the end goal? Let's talk about the other side of the fence, which is really what matters at the end of the day, which is the impact you create on these healthcare professionals, whether they're in Japan, Australia, Singapore, or elsewhere. From their viewpoint, what do you think is their perception of the quality that MedTech players are able to provide right now?
That's a fantastic question because let's say I achieve perfect omnichannel execution. How will my customer perceive it? Do you think they will open my email and they'll be like, wow, that's a perfectly omnichannel execution done from BD. Wow, fantastic. And that website, wow, it works well on my phone, my desktop, my tablet in dark mode. They won't do that, right? So when it comes to omnichannel, we tend to be... or at least I used to be a bit internally focused and think I need to do all of this so perfectly because my customer will see the value. In the end, the data speaks for itself. So just look at 80% of the traffic, where it's coming from, right? Just make sure that this one is top-notch because then your customer will mostly see that one. So it's about giving them back value, making sure that they stop for the message that you want to give them. Again, you've interviewed a lot of medical device professional, life science professional, pharma professional, hospitals. It's rare that people will see the subject line of an email and be like, wow, I really need to open this email right now. it's not going to happen, right? There will not be, oh, there's a 20% offering on this product, or there is stocks are running out, right? There is not that clickbait when it comes to our industry. So they will not see that perfect omnichannel experience that we're striving for. But it comes down to the value, right? What value do they want to get from us? Is it expertise in our therapy area? Is it expertise when it comes to caring about patients? Is it expertise when it comes to healthcare professional?
Yeah.
And at BD, it's all of that, which makes it even harder to execute.
Yeah.
But it's what we're going for, giving back the right value to the right person.
Yeah, so this is great that you are talking about this, because through the series of podcasts we have done before with other guests, or through personal experiences, I mean, I feel that in marketing, we are often guilty of focusing on what we want to say to the world as opposed to what the world wants to hear. And yes, we talk about, we're going to do all this, research and try to be personalized and so on and so forth. But more often than not, we are just trying to promote until the point people get sick of it. And I like the fact that you really focus on that value and saying, okay, less is more. Let's try to really give what they need at the moment they need it, or they look for it, as opposed to try to force a circle into a square and be in their face all the time. So that resonates a lot. Do you felt that this was a huge cultural shift as well in your experience dealing with marketeers in pharma and in MedTech, or people bought into it?
Yeah, I think it's a big change. Even when you just mentioned about sending the right message at the right time so that we're not in their face all the time. And I just want to go back to that before I tell you about the change management piece. Because let's say right now, I sent you an email at 3 a.m. telling you that you get 20% off for doing your grocery shopping. Whether I send it to you at 3 a.m. or whether I send it to you when you are in the doing your grocery shopping, doesn't matter. You will open that email because it's something that you do or someone in your family does every week. Everyone needs to buy groceries, right? So it doesn't really matter at what time did you send that. You did not need to be in my face to tell me like 20 times, hey, here's 20% off for your grocery. You'll send it to me once, I'll open it, I'll remember, because there is value, right? So that's, to me, it's the component of omnichannel that is sending the right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel. I think the right time element has been got a bit too hyped, right?
I see your point.
I spent like years, I mean, not years, but over the last few years of my career, I spent many hours looking at the open rate at what time, right? Because that's what the marketing engine tells you, right? Oh, you should send your next email Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Oh, guess what? Everyone's doing the same. 10 a.m. Thursday or 10 a.m. Tuesday. So you're not different anymore. You're in the face of your customer just like everyone else. And so that's why it's important to shift back to what is the value I want to give, so that whether I send it at Tuesday 10 a.m. like everyone else, or whether I send it at Tuesday at 5 a.m. so it's the first email they see when they start their day and they know I give them value, completely change the narrative.
So now I get your point, and I think it's very valid. Thanks. And to my question about marketing professionals in pharma and in MedTech and their appetite or their understanding of that notion of trying to deliver value as opposed to promote. Do you feel that the industry has bought into that concept early on and with ease, or you feel that it's often a struggle?
Yeah, I think it's quite different from industries, just between MedTech and pharma first, right? MedTech being maybe more commercially focused, while pharma is often more marketing focused. And so with just that mindset alone, right? So it means that from us, we have thousands of reps on the ground. They are following up on why is this product more fitting your patient needs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I think culturally now everyone is moving forward, right? And it's for a few reasons. First, it's because technology is a lot more easy to integrate, to use.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of vendors out there, right? 10 years ago, there were a few. Now there are many, many solutions,
Right.
and you can find the right one for your operations and customize it for what you really need. So I think now that there are more fitting solutions in terms of MarTech out there, people are changing, but they will need to also get a lot more data to have a bit of a beginning of a data-driven marketing, so that they are less focused about what time should I send my email and a lot more about what creative is working. Was this message resonating with my audience?
Right.
Did I give value on this last 20 content pieces and not just look at one individually, but really look at the entire campaign?
Mm-hmm.
Did that give value or not? And so when, as an organization, you are able to start looking at this holistically, that's when your organization will be a bit more ready to take that change and to do omnichannel the right way.
Yeah. So you talked about data and make data-informed decisions and so on. I want to touch on this a little bit, but I also want to touch on something that is very close to my heart, because I started my career in sales, and then sales management, sales leadership led me to sales and marketing leadership, and then marketing roles. So it's maybe not that uncommon to have people moving from sales to marketing, and but regardless, I am a strong believer that whether you're in MedTech or in any other sector, I mean, I've seen this over and over again in a lot of companies. The marketing guys are complaining that the sales guys don't follow leads. The sales guys are complaining that they don't understand what marketing does and what's the value and so on. So I really believe in this vital, happy marriage that you need to have between marketing and sales, so that everybody speaks the same language and can really work together. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it from a customer perspective, there's nothing worse in terms of customer experience than receiving emails or information or whatever you are interested in, and you're like, oh wow, that's spot on, and then I call my rep and the guy has no freaking idea what I'm talking about, and he's this is really creating disjointed CX to say the least, and unpleasant experience. So what does it mean from your organization standpoint? How did you create that synergy between marketing and sales? What are the pitfalls as well that you think any organization should try to avoid, or how to go around it?
Yeah.
Long question, but
that's not just a long question. One that I don't have a perfect answer for. One that we are still working on, and I think we'll still be working on for a few years. And that's fine. So yeah, I think you're spot on when it comes to marketing is creating something that sometimes the sales team doesn't care about.
Mm-hmm.
And the sales team is busy running after closing the quarter, closing the month, having stronger relationship with their customer, and not updating marketing on the latest interactions, right? And I think it's because we often think about it one way. It's like marketing should provide something of value. Sales should provide something of value. But I think what will be more interesting is how can we have a constant flow, a bit more of a conversation between the two, right? So one thing that I really believe in right now is assuming you have your CRM and your MarTech stack well integrated, you should be able with generative AI to have a perfect way to keep everyone updated. If that's what marketing and sales care the most about at the moment, just being in the known, that should be addressable in a few years. And I think all the vendors out there are trying to sell to all of us the same solution about agents, your own personal agent, your marketing agent, your sales agent. And that's just, at the end of the day, it's knowledge. Being able to get an answer to a question just to get almost instant gratification, just to know, oh, my sales team is doing that. My marketing team is working on this account, right? So I think that's what we will get pretty efficiently and pretty quickly. What will be a lot more interesting is just to go back to what do they really care about. Sales most likely are stressed with closing the month or just making sure that maybe they just lost a recent customer to a competitor, right? So they will want to be able to get support for marketing. And I think it's something when it comes to lead nurturing, not just net new leads, but how can we help them close the leads with a higher win rate, with a faster velocity? That's what I think is the most exciting, where marketing can give a lot more value to sales, and sales will get it the arms open.
Yeah, for sure.
At BD, our sales cycles are fairly long because it can be capital equipment. It's just like the medical, the MedTech industry has long sales cycle. While in pharma, it's I think the decision making takes a bit of time. You start before you have high volume available in the market, but then you can once it's open, once the door open, everything flows with reimbursement and all of that, right? So I think it goes back to again, value is the number one thing that we need to give back.
Understood. Yeah, makes sense. So you talked about the long sales cycle in MedTech, which is indeed not a big surprise. A lot of MedTech companies we talk to are, building capabilities, allowing them to track the customer journey across touch points and also prove, if not an ROI, but at least what I would call a marketing influenced revenue. In other words, the contribution of the marketing touch points to close a deal or to win a tender and so on. Is BD capable of tracking all of this? You talked about thousands and thousands of leads, so I assume that you have already the seamless omnichannel engine in place that allows you to track this end to end. Yes,
we do. Data quality is not 100%. And we are also having the challenge of attribution, like trusting your attribution. But yeah, so let's say this was a sales podcast, right? And then I'm trying to sell something, which I'm not, obviously. Then I will want to see who was registered, right? And then I will be able to track this all the way to which account and hopefully say that I, as marketing, have created this opportunity, and it will go all the way from whatever webinar on-demand platform this is, all the way to the CRM, all the way to the sales rep visiting the customer that I've interacted with.
Right.
And then the rep being able to say, I have closed the deal for X amount.
Yeah.
So we're able to do this, but the reason why is because every marketeer and every of our omnichannel executives in the region need to track every single UTM. So we have, I think now, close to 50,000 lines of UTM of assets currently live. And that's something you cannot automate. That's something that is prone to human error. But that's the only way to get to attribution visibility.
Nicholas, it has been really cool to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. Maybe one last question. You have been driving digital and innovation at large for over a decade in both MedTech and Pharma. You mentioned some of your current and past employers. If you had to reflect and give maybe an advice to your younger self or to anyone who is watching us, driving change in a multinational organization is hard. Is there any piece of advice or wisdom that comes to mind, and that's something that you should have known earlier or that you believe our audience could benefit from?
Yeah, I think try small. And try different elements. So in pharma, I think when we first did consumer marketing, for a regulated product, it was really hard, and we wanted to make things really big. But we started small, and we got a lot of feedbacks first. And then in Pfizer after that, massive amount of data, massive amount of reps on the ground. I just tried data and saw that, there's actually one rep there. One day this rep is there, she's actually on a different territory, just playing with data when no one was really playing with it, right? And now in BD, we are able to play a lot with AI agents. So I'm always trying to motivate my team to tell them like, could this be done by an agent, right? So there's a problem, could this be fixed by an agent? So I think it's all about trying. If an advice for my younger self would have been maybe to try even more. But encourage everyone to, if you haven't experimented, try to get more knowledge, develop yourself, learn more. It's never too late. And try to jump on that bandwagon with AI agents and try to really drastically improve productivity for your organization.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you, Nicholas. And
thank you, Guillaume. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Amplifiz podcast with Nicholas. If you want to follow him on LinkedIn, you will find a link to his profile in the description of this video. Tell us what you thought. Any questions are welcome, comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon. Bye-bye.